Jai Gurudev. Today we are privileged to have with us a panel of experts, teachers from the Art of Living Foundation, all of whom have studied and given commentaries on the Yoga Vasistha based on Swami Venkatesananda's book, published under the guidance of His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji. This deep philosophical text is a conversation between Sage Vasistha and Lord Rama, and it provides immense wisdom on topics such as dispassion, self-realization, and liberation. We'll begin by dividing into the Vairagya Prakaranam or dispassion. On dispassion, one of the most profound sections of this text. Thank you all for joining us. Let's start with an introduction to the concept of Vairagya or dispassion and what is dispassion in the context of the Yoga Vasistha. Jai Gurudev, and thank you for having me and all of us. Vairagya or dispassion is one of the central themes in Yoga Vasistha. It is not merely about renunciation of the world, but more about understanding the transient nature of everything. Dispassion arises naturally when one truly sees that the external world, including its pleasures, pains, success, and failures, is impermanent. In Yoga Vasistha, Sage Vasistha explains to Rama that dispassion is not the rejection of life, but the realization of its ephemeral nature and the understanding that true fulfillment lies beyond these passing experiences. For instance, when we constantly chase after material gains, relationships, or recognition, we tend to get caught in a cycle of desires and dissatisfaction. Vairagya brings clarity where one stops clinging to these desires and instead focuses on higher knowledge, inner peace, and self realization. That's beautifully explained. So, how does one develop Vairagya? Is it something that can be cultivated consciously, or does it come with experience and reflection? Vairagya can be cultivated both consciously and through life experiences. In the Yoga Vasistha, Lord Rama's journey is the perfect example of how life experiences can lead to dispassion. Ram, despite having everything wealth, power, and the love of his family, feels an intense sense of dissatisfaction and begins to question the meaning of life. This is the moment when Sage Vasistha steps in and guides him towards Vairagya. However, as practitioners, we don't necessarily have to wait for life's ups and downs to push us toward dispassion. Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji often emphasizes the importance of daily practices like meditation, pranayama, and Sudarshan Kriya, which help calm the mind and bring us to a place of detachment. When the mind is calm, we naturally begin to see that chasing after temporary pleasures only leads to suffering. This insight fosters vairagya. Consciously reflecting on the impermanent nature of everything around us is another way to develop this passion. When we understand that nothing in the external world can provide lasting happiness, we stop clinging to these things and instead turn inwards. So, this passion is not about giving up on life, but about seeing life with clarity without attachment. Can you talk about how this understanding of Vairagya helps in day to day living? Absolutely, dispassion is often misunderstood as detachment or indifference, but in reality, it enhances our ability to engage with life fully without being overwhelmed by it. When we develop vairagya, we can participate in the world with a sense of freedom. We perform our duties, enjoy relationships, and take on responsibilities, but without the anxiety of outcomes or the fear of loss. For example, in professional life, when we become too attached to success, failure can crush us, but with dispassion, we perform to the best of our ability without being shaken by the results. The Bhagavad Gita's concept of karma yoga or working without attachment to the fruits of action is closely aligned with vairagya. Similarly, in relationships, vairagya allows us to love and care deeply, but without possessiveness. It's like holding something precious in your palm gently without gripping it too tightly. When we stop clinging to people or outcomes, we become more peaceful and compassionate. In a sense, vairagya brings balance to life. That's a powerful way to live, being fully engaged but not entangled. Can we delve a little deeper into how the Yoga Vasistha describes this passion? And what are some of the key teachings or stories from this text that exemplify Vairagya? One of the most powerful stories in the Yoga Vasistha that illustrates Vairagya is the story of King Sikhidwaja and his wife Chodala. King Shikhidwaja becomes disillusioned with life and retreats to the forest seeking liberation through renunciation. He believes that by giving up everything, his kingdom, wealth, and even his royal duties, he will attain dispassion. However, his wife, Queen Chodala, realizes that dispassion is not about external renunciation but about internal detachment. In disguise, She visits him in the forest and teaches him that true Vairagya lies in understanding the transient nature of the mind and the world, not in abandoning one's responsibility. She explains that even while ruling the kingdom, one can be free from attachment. This story illustrates and highlights that dispassion is an inner state of mind, not necessarily an outward lifestyle change. Sage Vasistha emphasizes that Vairagya comes from wisdom, the wisdom that everything in this world is constantly changing. When we stop identifying ourselves with these changes, dispassion naturally arises. This doesn't mean we should become passive or inactive. Rather, we act with full awareness and let go of the desire for specific outcomes. That's an insightful perspective. It seems like dispassion is closely linked to self realization and freedom. Could you explain how Vairagya leads to liberation in the Yoga Vasistha? Yes, Vairagya is an essential step towards self realization and ultimately liberation or moksha. In the Yoga Vasistha, Sage Vasistha tells Rama that as long as we are caught up in the play of the world, chasing desires, running from fears, and clinging to possessions, we are bound by ignorance. Dispassion helps us break free from this cycle. When dispassion arises, the mind becomes calm and centered. In the state of calmness, we begin to see the deeper truth that we are not limited to this body, mind, or ego. We are the infinite consciousness, the unchanging awareness behind all experiences. This realization is liberation. Vairagya creates a space for us to experience our true nature. It's like peeling away layers of an onion. When we let go of attachments to the outer layers of identity and desires, we come closer to the core, which is pure consciousness. And in that pure state, there is freedom, peace, and unshakable joy. Thank you all for such a profound discussion. It's clear that Vairagya is a transformative practice that can lead to greater clarity, peace, and ultimately liberation. Jai Gurudev. Jai Gurudev, let's continue exploring Vairagya with a deeper dive into some newer points. The teachings of Yoga Vasistha emphasize that dispassion isn't just about renouncing the material world, but also about renouncing the attachment to the mind and its desires. How can we further understand this aspect? This is a very crucial point. Often we focus solely on material attachment, desire for wealth, fame, or relationships. But Yoga Vasistha teaches us that even attachment to the mind, its thoughts and emotions can bind us. The mind itself becomes a source of attachment, especially when we identify with every passing thought and emotion. This is one of the deeper layers of Vairagya, the detachment not just from the external world, but from the fluctuations of the mind. For example, we may experience thoughts like, I am not good enough, I need to prove myself, or I want this outcome. These desires and beliefs, even though they seem internal, create a deep attachment to our sense of self. The true essence of Vairagya is to detach from the constant fluctuations of the mind. Yoga Vasistha teaches that the mind, when unchecked, keeps jumping from one desire to another. This passion is achieved when one is able to simply observe these thoughts rather than being ruled by them. His Holiness Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankarji often talks about this in his teachings, how meditation and awareness can help us disidentify from the mind and see it as an instrument rather than something that defines us. This shift in perspective is essential for true Vairagya. So, dispassion also means observing the mind without becoming entangled in it. Let's talk about the connection between Vairagya and knowledge in the Yoga Vasistha. There is a direct link between dispassion and wisdom. Can you elaborate on this? Absolutely. In the Yoga Vasistha, Vairagya is not just a practice, but an expression of wisdom. The more wisdom one gains about the nature of the self and the world, as easier it is to develop dispassion. The two are inseparable. When we understand that the external world is fleeting and that our true nature is beyond it, the attachment to worldly things naturally fades. Sage Vasistha speaks about the Jnana Vairagya, the dispassion that arises from knowledge. When we gain true knowledge or jnana about the impermanence of the world and the eternal nature of the soul, attachment dissolves. The mind, no longer clouded by ignorance, becomes clear and calm. This understanding is key to Vairagya. It's like realizing that the movie we are watching on a screen is just light and images. We stop getting caught up in the characters and plot because we know it's all temporary. This is why study, reflection, and meditation are so crucial in the path of dispassion. Through the combination of wisdom and practice, Vairagya becomes a natural outcome rather than something forced or artificial. The more deeply we understand the teachings, the more we naturally detach from illusions of the world. It seems like true dispassion involves a deep inner transformation, gaining wisdom and shifting a perspective on the world. Can you share how Vairagya influences the way we live our lives in practical terms? In practical terms, Vairagya influences our approach to challenges, relationships, and personal growth. When we begin to live with this passion, we are no longer driven by fear or greed. We act from a place of inner calm and clarity rather than being impulsive or reactive. For instance, when faced with difficulties, we stop seeing them as threats. Instead, we recognize them as opportunities for growth and self reflection. Vairagya teaches us that in no situation, whether it's success or failure, defines our worth. We start to see challenges as part of the flow of life and learn to embrace them with equanimity. In relationships, this passion allows us to love deeply but without possessiveness or the need for validation. We engage with others from a place of unconditional love and respect, not from a space of dependence or expectation. When we are dispassionate, our interactions become more authentic and free from manipulation or hidden agendas. Even in work, Vairagya brings clarity. When we are not attached to outcomes, we focus more on the process and perform our duties with dedication and mindfulness without becoming overly attached to success or failure. This brings a sense of inner peace even amidst a busy or a challenging work environment. That's an important shift, seeing life with equanimity and engaging with it without attachment. What role does meditation play in cultivating Vairagya? Meditation plays a pivotal role in cultivating vairagya. When we meditate, we are essentially training the mind to become still, observing thoughts without becoming entangled in them. This process helps us detach from the endless stream of desires and distractions that usually pull us in different directions. Through practices like Sudarshan Kriya and Pranayama, which His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar Ji teaches, we begin to experience a deeper level of relaxation and clarity. These techniques not only calm the mind but also open up a space where we can witness our thoughts and emotions without getting caught up in them. Over time, we become more aware of the impermanence of thoughts and emotions. We naturally develop vairagya. Meditation helps us to detach from the past and future, living in the present moment. As we deepen our meditation practice, we become less attached to the fleeting experiences of the world and more aligned with our true nature, which is ever present and unchanging. It's wonderful how meditation aligns with this passion and inner transformation. Before we conclude, could you summarize the key takeaways from Vairagya Prakaranam and its relevance to our modern lives? The core teaching of Vairagya in the Yoga Vasistha is that true happiness and peace come not from external acquisitions but from the inner realization of our true nature. This passion is not about renouncing the world but about renouncing attachment to it. By cultivating wisdom, we naturally develop Vairagya, which leads to liberation from suffering. In today's fast paced world, where we are constantly chasing after more, be it success, material possessions, or social approval, Vairagya offers a powerful reminder to step back and reflect. It teaches us to engage with life fully but without becoming entangled in its fluctuations. By practicing meditation, reflecting on our deeper truths, and living with clarity and purpose, we can embody this passion in our lives today, leading to lasting peace and freedom. Thank you all for your profound insights on Vairagya from the Yoga Vasistha. Your wisdom helps illuminate the path to true dispassion and liberation, which is so relevant for each of us on our journey towards self realization. Jai Gurudev.